Another cold, misty morning, full moon over there on the horizon. Sun will be coming up, of course, on the other horizon a bit. It's not very pleasant, though. It's cold and misty. I mean, diminishing returns, not going to be out here much more because it's, there's not much point being out here if it's not pleasant. Anyway, this is another little microplane which I've had for a while, and I guess I've just never done a video of it. It's the UMX E-flite UMX Spacewalker, another little one-cell brushed thing. I'm not generally a big fan of the one-cell brushed ones because, they're just a bit on the weak side and the electrics don't last too well, but we'll try. So far as I remember, this guy was flying pretty much okay last time I flew him. Famous last words. That's weird. He seems to be thinking he wants to bind. He should have been bound. I don't know why he thinks he wants to bind.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds. Bind complete.
Well, that's a little weird because he was definitely bound to that model before, so why he felt he needed to be bound again, I don't know. This is, just another little, it's really an indoor flyer, just a little 3-channel indoor flyer. A little three-channel version of the Spacewalker. As wet as anything on this table. Why have we had a random rubber band hanging there?
Throttle cut off.
We'll see. Ooh. There's a breath of wind now, which shouldn't be a great significance for most things, but this guy will probably feel it. Yeah, oh yes, he can feel it. That's the wind. It's not much what you call a wind, it's like a slight stirring of air, but, this guy's a little 3-channel indoor flyer. He doesn't really want any stirring of air, really much. I think he must be about the smallest and lightest one that E-flite have ever made. He's not maybe quite as light as things like that micro tiger moth I have. But he's lighter than, like, say, the Champ or whatever. I can't think of anything else that E-flite have made. Well, the Vapors, of course. The Vapors, but they're not foam planes. They're little sort of, like carbon stick planes with, mylar wings and whatever, the Vapors. But this is the smallest and lightest foam plane, so far as I know, that E-flite have ever made. But it does fly. There's another one I just picked up loose like that, used. I didn't buy it new. And it was a bit, as far as I remember, it took some serious trimming out. It will loop quite handily, actually. Of course, with a 3-channel, that's about as exciting as it gets, because you've not got any roll capability, but he certainly doesn't mind looping, does he? He's quite happy to loop, in fact. Well, I mean, partially because, he's probably got pretty much the same type of brushed motor as things like the Champ and maybe even the Cub S. I don't know whether it's any smaller or not. And he is a lot smaller and lighter. So this tiny little brushed motor actually supplies proportionally a reasonable amount of power for such a tiny little plane as this, because you put it on your hand, you can hardly feel it. It hardly weighs anything without the battery. It's very, very light. So he's actually got a reasonable amount of power from that tiny little brush motor, so long as it goes on working. The problem with those tiny little brush motors is you fly them a lot and they tend to just give out. Their life is sort of fairly limited. Whereas the brushless ones, it's not infinite, but the brushless ones, if you treat them sort of right, they'll go on almost indefinitely. They go on pretty well. Nothing will go on indefinitely, of course, everything wears somewhat, but brushed motors, at least there's no brush, It's all done by the magnets and the armature and whatever. So there's not, the bearings are the main thing that'll wear out on a brushless motor. Whereas on a brushed motor, the brushes, are inevitably going to wear out. They're going to be the first thing to go, basically. And they don't generally make these in, big brush motors. You can replace the brushes, but you can't replace the brushes on these little micro motors. You just replace the motor when it dies. I've not been paying attention to time. How long have we been flying for? Come on, Jenny, tell me. Mist's clearing a bit, I think. Oh, well, we'll bring him in and land him. Why we're not getting a time, I don't know, but...
Time remaining, 2 minutes.
There you go. And I don't know what they've got the timer set on him. He does a little, I think he does a little bit better, maybe, than some, because he's so tiny. There we go. For a little 3-channel micro, he's not bad, really. Oh, and he's quite a nice, it is a good suitable indoor flyer. If you want something just to pottle around the gym or whatever with. So long as someone doesn't chew him up with one of their big 3D planes. That's always the problem with indoor. There's too many people doing too many different things. And something like this, if it gets anywhere near a bigger plane, it's going to get chewed up very quickly. It's very, very... Whoops, sticking to my finger there just because of the damp. Anyway, there you go. The UMX Spacewalker. Not as capable as a big Spacewalker, but still kind of cute little UMX plane.